All right, welcome back. We're going to have a further look at dealing with powers, okay, and some of the other shortcuts that you can do with powers. So here we go. We already know that if you have a times a times a times a times a, that's a to the 5. And if you have a times a times a, that's a to the power of 3, right? Good. Well, what happens when you divide them? Okay, now when you divide them, that's going to look like this, but actually I don't like seeing it like that. I'm going to show it like this. A times, here's the 5, and here's the 3. Now this is going to give you a little hint about what you can do here, because what happens, oh, what did I write the number 3 there for? So silly, Wilson, so silly. There we go. All right, so this is going to give you a little clue, because if you remember in some of the, when we had a very quick look at the basics of algebra dividing, that if it matched on the top and the bottom, as long as it's got multiply signs, it can be taken off. So have a look at this. Can you see I can match them the top and the bottom? And if you have a very careful look at what's left, there is simply just a squared and it's left on the top line. Okay. All right, now if you have a look at what happened with the powers, you can minus the powers or subtract them. I'd be careful doing this. It's a little bit easier sometimes just to work out, not lob them off the top and the bottom. Okay, oh, right, let's just get this so you can read it. So there we go. So when you divide powers of the same letter or number, you actually subtract the indices. That's what's happening. But I quite often knock them top and bottom off. It makes it a little bit easier. Let's have a look at a few questions. I've got A6 divided by A2. Okay, now again, I'm going to write this as A6 divided by A2. Now, if you think about the 6 on the top line, there's 4 on the bottom line. You could write them out if you wanted to, and it's a good thing to do. Or you can say, hang on, well, there's 2 on the bottom, so let's get rid of 2 of them off the top. There we go. Second one, C3 divided by C5. Now, this is the one that gets a little bit tricky, and I'm going to draw out this a little bit carefully for you. So this is C, C, C over C, 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 C. Agreed? Okay, now knock them off and see what happens. Now, I would agree that there's C squared left, but have a look at where it is. It's on the bottom line. So, in fact, you can't move it up. So a 1 goes on the top line. So you're going to find the answer is going to be C to the negative 2. Okay, or can be written even better as 1 over C squared, which is a little bit easier to write. Okay, all right, but these two mean exactly the same thing. All right, let's just move on to the hard one here. We've got, might have to do this in a couple of steps. I've got 3 times 4 is, oh, and by the way, this one you can do a couple of different ways, so don't panic if you did it slightly differently. 3 4s are 12, and we've got, all right, so 3 times 4 is 12, y7 on the top line, and I've got 2y3 on the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is 12 over 2 goes down to the number 6, and I'm going to get rid of 3 of these off this. There we go. So if I'm correct, I should have 6y4 on the top. All right, and yeah, nothing left on the bottom. Now let's have a look at a couple of really hard indices questions. All right, now these are really quite difficult, so just don't panic yet. Here we go. 4 8s are 32, so this is going to be 32a to the power of 8 over 2a to the power of 9. Now let's just lob this off. 32 over 30 over 2 is the same as 16. Remember that if you're not very good at fractions, use the fraction button in your calculator. Now there are 8 on top and 9 on the bottom, so these guys are all going to go, and you're going to be left with 1a on the bottom. So my answer is going to be 16a to the negative 1, or I like to write it as 16 over a is a nicer format of that. All right, that leaves everything where it was. So the 16 was left on the top and the a was left on the bottom. Okay, all right, bottom one to get 20y cubed, let's just have a look. 30 times 4, of course, we know is 120, and y2, y4, y5 is y7. And the bottom would have been 6y4. So So let's just knock these off. 6 and 120 go down to, that goes down perfectly. All right, goes down to 20. Again, use your calculator if you're not so good at that. Get rid of these 4 here and knock off 4 of these here, leaving you with 3. And there, if you have a look, is the 20y3, nothing left on the bottom. Okay. Now, we know that a times a is a cubed, but can you have a look at the second example here? We've got the a cubed and then it's squared. So what that actually means is that a cubed is written out twice. Okay, so it's a cubed times a cubed, which we know is a to the 6. All right. So if you have a look at what happened here with the shortcut, can you see that the powers are actually multiplied? So 3 2s are 6, and it's a6 is our answer. Right, so here's the third rule. When you raise a power by another power, okay, you must multiply the indices. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of questions here. Wow, these are going to get a little bit challenging, so let's hold ourselves in readiness. Okay, we've got a2 to the power of 4, so that is a8, because remember it's a2, 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 so that's a8. a3 to the power of 2 is going to be a6, because that's a3 times a3. And when we multiply these two together, we get a to the 14. Well done. Notice I did a little bit of working. It's a really good idea. It's really hard to hold all this in your head at once. Now, with question 2, that 4's on the outside. So we know with BEDMAS, you deal with the brackety stuff first, and then you deal with everything else. So this is I'm going to deal with this power first. A squared to the power of 3 is a2, 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 which is a6. And then it's just multiplied by 4 in the front. So there she is. That's a little bit different to question 3. Because see, in question 3, this is 4a squared times 4a squared times 4a squared. All right, the 4a squared is all to the power of 3. So that's going to be 4 times 4 times 4. So 16 4s are 64. All right, and then it's going to be a6. Now, if you want to shortcut this, you'd need to do 4 to the power of 3 on your calculator, which is 64, and then a6. Otherwise, very, very, very good idea to write this out. Okay, last one here. This is 5ab cubed all squared. Wow, is that hard? So that's actually 5ab cubed times 5ab cubed. And it's a really good idea to write these out. Okay, so here we go. That's going to be 25a squared b6. All right. Now, if you did the shortcut, it would be 5 squared, 25, a squared, and b cubed squared b6. Wow, was that hard? All right. Okay, so let's see if we've really understood all the indices rules. Here we go. You ready? Wow. Oh my God. That is awesome. All right, here we go. What do you do when you see something this nasty? Well, you don't panic. All right, but you're going to have to do some steps here. All right.